A classic clash of air masses with a late winter cold front will continue the threat for severe weather for today, with the orange area seeing the highest chance of seeing severe weather. In fact, the latest update from the Storms Prediction Center has increased the tornado risk to 10% in the yellow area there across portions of Arkansas, extreme southern Missouri, and western Oklahoma. The wind damage threat has also increased a bigger area, stretching from Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, and back toward Texas. And finally, the hail threat is also quite high. The area there in red encompasses a 30% chance that you will see large hail in your backyard. Already starting out with a very active weather day on your Thursday. We'll have a detailed look at the latest data coming your way next. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Weather Nerds YouTube channel. I'm your host Greg Majeski, making a difference one subscriber at a time, and we're in store for our very active weather day. But before we get into that, if you could please do me a favor, please subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. I do appreciate the feedback as I continue to try to improve my product for you guys. All right, what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a very active morning on your Thursday as of this recording. We've had severe weather across areas of Kansas and Missouri. The most thing that's really stood out for me has been the hail reports. Hail reports have been through the roof, and I'll continue to be a big component of this. But obviously, the tornado risk is also fairly high, so we've seen it increase. Now, what we got going on, we've got an area of low pressure that's up across areas of Missouri and Iowa, sitting right up in this region right here. That's what's causing the spin. There were a lot of dynamics, as I showed in my previous report. And you've also got an area of low pressure kind of bearing itself across areas of the southwest. So you've got this big dip in the jet stream right through here that's bumping into that very warm air mass out ahead of it. And we're going to see another round of severe weather firing up later today as we go into areas a little bit further south than where we're currently seeing it. For the morning hours, it'll continue into areas of the Midwest. So right through here, and then it'll start to fire up again, heading down toward the south as we go into later into the afternoon and into tonight. So we got plenty to get to. Let's go ahead and take a look at the latest high-resolution model data. So we're going to focus on two different segments of severe weather that we're going to have to be dealing with here over the next 12 to 18 hours or so. So we're going to focus in here on the first round. This is going to be for the morning hours into the early afternoon hours here across areas of the Midwest. That'll be round number one. And then it'll be down here toward the south where we'll see the secondary development a little bit later into this afternoon. So let me get out of the way here as we go ahead and focus in here on round one with the severe weather. Let's go ahead and take this forward in time as we're going to watch a squall line set up in here for the morning hours. That'll be moving across portions of Illinois, coming into Chicago, and then kind of coming into Indianapolis here for later into the morning, into the afternoon hours as we progress here. As we head toward the noon hour, we're seeing a pretty decent squall line there. Still get some residual storms here back off here on the northern periphery of this low pressure. But my main concern is going to be along this squall line right in here and any interaction with anything that may develop out ahead of that line as that system begins to progress off toward the east. So that'll be for the early afternoon. Then that storm should settle down a little bit as it's entering into Ohio and progressing into Pennsylvania a little bit later. But then you notice this activity here back toward Oklahoma. This will be what we'll be watching here. This is where that highest tornado risk will be firing up here as we head into the later afternoon hours and into the overnight hours here for tonight. So watching very, very closely here as we go forward into time again, as you see across portions of Missouri, into Arkansas, into Oklahoma, as we're getting toward about the 6 o'clock hour here for this evening, as this moving into the overnight hours across Missouri and Arkansas, which is always dangerous at night. I do not like tornadoes, especially at night. Again, a very high hail probability with this. We've had over 154 reports of hail so far with the system, and it'll be quite more than that once it's all said and done. So we're going here toward the late night hours here as we're progressing toward midnight. You've seen those storms through Little Rock approaching the Memphis area as we go through the overnight hours into Friday. Now, the good news is, although the severe threat will diminish, it'll kind of step down as this storm system begins to pull off toward the east. As we'll see, the day 2 outlook is showing it dropping down a little bit, but you kind of see the squall line that will continue to push off toward the east through Tennessee into portions of northern Alabama, stretching back toward Mississippi. Probably still some strong gusty winds along that boundary as that continues to push off toward the south. And noticing it does settle down as we progress into Friday morning as that squall line kind of rushes down toward the south. So probably a very gusty boundary right along that squall line as it settles in down toward the south and begins to settle down. But what we're going to deal with here for tonight is, again, or this afternoon and tonight, is going to be the areas there across portions of Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. That's my main concern for today. During the morning hours, we got to deal with the morning and early afternoon for areas there across the Midwest with the severe weather. All right, so the next thing I like to look at is the fuel source. So, of course, when it comes to severe weather, we're talking about CAPE. We're talking about latent heat energy here. And we have abundant moisture and heat that's flowing in out of the Gulf of Mexico and stretching up into areas of Texas and into Arkansas and Oklahoma as we go throughout this afternoon. So let's go ahead and watch this very slowly here as I progress here toward the noon hour. You notice that it increases significantly across that region. That's the target zone for some of that active weather as we head into the late afternoon hours as things develop across areas of Arkansas into Louisiana and to Texas. And it does start to diminish though as we lose that daytime heating and pushes off toward the south. You notice that boundary showing up very nicely there with that frontal system right through here as we start to squeeze out that CAPE energy. But again, it's got its full momentum. We're going to still hold on to the CAPE across areas there across South Texas. That's why you still have that slight risk going in there as we head into Friday into the day 2 outlook. But again, the CAPE does settle down as we head to the overnight hours and going into your Friday as that boundary begins to clear. But again, the main threat will be here as I back this up again, looking out through the late afternoon into the early evening hours. Again, that's when things will be at their highest risk, and we'll be watching for that to develop later this afternoon. So what you're looking at right here is the significant tornado parameter. This kind of looks at the elements needed, especially with the spin or wind shear in the atmosphere, different components that show where the best areas for tornadoes could potentially develop. So as we go through time, you notice that the highest levels down here in Oklahoma during the morning hours, but we don't have anything there firing just yet. But this will begin to shift off toward the north as we've got that little piece of energy that's spinning up into areas of Illinois and Indiana. And it looks like the bulk of the storm should be out of there, so we'll have to look for redevelopment there. And some of that energy may have been stolen. So even though the tornado parameter risk may be a little bit higher up here toward portions of Indiana and Illinois right through this region by the late afternoon, some of that energy will be gone because of the storms that were earlier in the day. What we're going to watch, though, here for later into the evening hours is what fires off down here across Arkansas. So you notice by the time we get to 6, 7 o'clock, we're seeing that increasing down here across portions of southern Arkansas. Increasing with that. So you can see where those highest parameters for tornadoes will be supported. It will begin to be the highest as we go through the early evening hours. So we're talking about heading toward 9, 10 o'clock at night, seeing that quite significant across the southern portions of Arkansas and kind of sneaking into northern Mississippi. But it does diminish as we lose that daytime heating and lose that heat to support those thunderstorms as that eventual squall line settles down further to the south. So we're going to take a final look here at the simulated radar here as we go through the next 12 to 18 hours as we're watching this active weather across the Midwest first. Now, what's the good news here on this is that the storms that are going to be moving through Illinois, Indiana, and into Ohio as we head here into the early afternoon hours is going to miss when the highest parameters for tornadoes will be there. So it's been my experience when you see like a round of severe weather and then maybe another round later in the day that initial round kind of steals some of that energy. So that's what I'm kind of seeing here. We'll have some very gusty winds and squall line here across Indiana and going into Ohio as we go through the afternoon hour. And when the tornado parameter is at its highest, it'll have to redevelop it again right back into this area here. Not saying we couldn't see tornadoes. I'm not saying that at all. But I do say that the storms may not be as intense because of the storms that we had earlier in the day. Because I think my main concern is going to be down here with this line right through here across Missouri and Arkansas. That's where the highest tornado threat is because of the storms this morning. So the storms earlier in the day will make the later storms not be quite as bad across the Midwest as it could have been. So just put it to you that way. So again, watching that squall line here as it moves through Arkansas, through the night hours. So I cannot reinforce this again, folks. If you're in this part of the country, especially at night, make sure you have that latest weather app on your phone, and make sure you have your weather radios to go, especially at night. Those nighttime tornadoes are something you definitely don't want to deal with. You cannot see them. People get late at night, they go to sleep. Now, the good news is, as we go in through the overnight hours, the storms will lose a little bit of their punch, but it's still a pretty decent squall line here that's going to be moving in across areas of Mississippi and Alabama and Tennessee. So severe thunderstorm warnings will definitely be there. Tornado watches, we'll see that earlier in the day, and they'll continue into the nighttime hours. But again, this line will be losing its punch as it moves down toward the south. But there'll be some pretty gusty winds along that boundary as it moves into Georgia and Alabama as we go through the early morning hours on Friday. Keep in mind, these storms that are moving through the southeast at this time will be moving in when the daytime heating is going to be at its obvious lowest point there as it shifts on toward the south and drifts into southern Georgia, southern Alabama. And you see a little complex of storms there through Louisiana late in the day on your Friday. So we've got to get through the next 12 to 18 hours, and then things should begin to settle on down a little bit as we wrap up through this really kind of the initial big severe weather event here for 2024. So we already have severe thunderstorm watches out here across portions of Illinois and Missouri. I do expect additional ones to be fired up here across Indiana and Ohio as we progress through the morning hours into the afternoon. And again, later in the afternoon, we'll see things begin to fire up with additional tornado watches down across this portion of the country as we get progressed into late this afternoon and into tonight as we watch those storms fire up later today. Again, make sure you stay weather aware for today. Stay tuned to your local National Weather Service offices for additional warnings in your regions, and stay informed as best you can. Again, if you got your smartphone, make sure you got your app ready and set to go here for today as this active weather progresses here in your late winter, almost a spring type day. All right, that's the latest for now. I do appreciate it. Again, if you like what you saw with this update, I do appreciate your support. Please give me a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, and what I can kind of work on to make this product a better service for you guys. That's it for now. You guys take it easy. We'll see you on the next update. Until then, be good and stay safe out there.